Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys another 2022 album review. And today I want to talk about an album that, from a band that, I'll probably get a little bit of shit for, probably not. I'll probably lose some subscribers, but I don't really care. I dig most of these guys' stuff. As you can see by the title, today we're going to be talking about the new album from We Came as Romans, entitled Darkbloom, which is out now through Sharp Tone Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with We Came as Romans, they're a metalcore band based out of Michigan, been around since 2005. And We Came as Romans, I pretty much dig all of these guys' stuff, mostly their first couple records. And they've been putting out albums since their debut album, which came out in 2009, entitled To Plant a Seed, which I thought was a pretty good album. I kind of thought it was weird on the production side, and last time I saw them, they actually played the album in its entirety, all 12 songs, or 11, I should say. And then they put out albums such as 2011's Understanding What We've Grown to Be, 2013's Chasing Back Roots, but it wasn't until 2015 they released their self-titled album, which kind of was a little bit different, and they kind of experimented more. And that album I thought was, I didn't really care for that one. But then their previous album, which came out in 2017, I thought was a pretty good album, Cold Like War. But then in 2018, the band suffered a big tragedy when clean vocalist Kyle Pavone had passed away at the age of 28. And that was really shocking to hear. I mean, I've only got to see We Came as Romans with Kyle once, and it was back in Halloween of 2017 where they were playing with I Prevail, Word Alive, and Escape the Fate at Variety Playhouse, and that was the only time I've ever seen them with Kyle. But then I've heard they're pretty much continuing on without him, with Dave Stevens, the other singer, or pretty much taking over everything. And here we are, and I know before, like the year or so after Kyle's death, they released two songs that aren't even on this album, which I was kind of surprised, which are Carry the Weight and From the First Note. I thought those were pretty good songs, but then here we are with a new era of We Came as Romans, like almost pretty much 5 years after the release of their previous album, Cold Like War. I think this almost is like a new beginning or a new start for We Came as Romans. I think they really continue on even after Kyle's death. One thing to know is just the vocals from Dave Stevens. I think his screams have really gotten more powerful. Really could definitely feel it, and especially his clean vocals have really shined more. And I think he really just stepped it up with the clean vocals. The guitar work on this album is pretty solid. Joshua Moore and Lou Cotton both come up with some really great riffs on here. The bass, I think, is a little bit audible. I think Andy Glass really stepped it up on the bass. You could definitely hear it more. It's a little bit more crunchy. And the drumming from David Puckett, he definitely really steps it up with the drums. So without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is the title track of the album, Darkbloom. In the beginning, it just sounds very dark and bleak. It also shows the new era for We Came as Romans, accompanied sort of like a little post-apocalyptic setting in the music video. And the band is pretty much displaying a lot of optimism despite the whole old dark ages that we are living through. It sort of like acts like a soundtrack for hope. What we need to be highlighted here are like the dramatic riffs and the breakdowns making the song come alive. And I feel like the band, I can't even speak today, the band pretty much found their next progression in their career, and I really like it. And I know there's also another version of this song, which actually features Kyle Anderson, the lead vocalist for deathcore band Brand of Sacrifice, and that version's even more fucking brutal ever. But anyway, that's besides the point. Moving on to the next song, which is called Plagued. Now, it opens up with a verse of very raspy cleans. Behind are some really crunchy riffs that pretty much hint at pending explosion, which surely does ensue. And the band pretty much dials it up for the chorus and is expected with the backing vocals. And the rest of the band packs a punch with the really great production on the bass and the drums. And I'm excited to see what comes for We Came as Romans here. Next up is Black Hole. Now, this song is another heavy jam, which actually showcases Dave's really great clean vocals. And the song also has a guest appearance from Caleb Shomo from Beartooth, and he adds his own melodic performance while Dave heads back into the scream territory. And the band sort of combining the heavy instrumentals with sort of a synth direction, kind of similar to Darkbloom. But Black Hole pulls some, also kind of reminds me a little bit of parts from Motionless in White or early Bring Me the Horizon, but don't let that fool you. You could definitely tell it's We Came as Romans, but something they've almost kind of made it their own in a way. Moving on to Daggers. Now, Daggers really captures the heart of this. This guitars kick in with an isolated vocal growl, and then the sirens drop with sustained mania. Has a very heavy chorus and opening verses, and I especially thought it was an interesting thing, or it features a rapper named 0936, and I think it just as something new for We Came as Romans, because you never hear really rapping. Well, I know they have almost kind of like a new metal little kind of like influence. It's a little bit in their most recent work. That's just pretty much what I give from it. Next song on the album is called Golden. Now, a tasty little breakdown gets delivered about like halfway through the song, even though it's not what the song is leaning on. It's definitely kind of like a more emotive song, and the band pretty much follows on, emerging heavier than, but this time leaning into more like the clean vocal legacy that Kyle Pavone left behind. One More Day. Now, One More Day kind of feels a little bit more ballady at times, owing to more of the slower pacing and the more heartfelt lyrics. The outro of the song really surprised me in a good way. It has some really great synths to go along with it, and I do wish kind of like more bands explored this domain without going just full blown. Next up is Doublespeak. Now, Doublespeak, for like the first minute and a half, it just has me in laughter as the electronic sit goes on before tossing in with some heavy riffs. The intro sounds kind of like similar to like some freaking pop shit, and the song also has a unique offering in terms of the band, but I just kind of wish they would tread down this path sonically. The Anchor is up next. Now, The Anchor is another kind of like formulaic metalcore song done well, focusing lyrically on being stuck after lose somebody. And then the last two songs I want to talk about are Holding the Embers and Promise You. Now, Holding into Embers and Promise You kind of like almost blend in with each other. With Holding the Embers, I think is a pretty good song. And then, of course, today they released a music video for the final song, Promise Me. And I think it's a really great emotional ballady kind of song with Dave Stevens singing, and also sharing a little vocals from Joshua Moore, their guitarist, from what I've heard. And it also has like a music video as like a tribute to Kyle Pavone. I think it's a really emotional kind of like way to end the album. Now, overall, Darkbloom by We Came as Romans is a pretty good comeback album, and the band pretty much showcases like a new era for this album. Blech. Can't even talk again. Shit, sorry. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm going to give Darkbloom by We Came as Romans a solid 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.